Good to have you here. Welcome to another exciting segment of the Let's Talk series. And if you're just joining the community, it's good to have you here. Feel free and feel safe. My name is Omokofum. In today's segment, we'll be talking about embracing failure and learning valuable lessons from setbacks and challenges in one's life. Whenever I think about failure and challenges and setbacks, the first thing that comes to my mind is Allah's righteous servants and his messengers and our prophets that we've been told about. Each one of these prophets and messengers at some point in their lives have encountered failure, setbacks, and challenges before they were able to deliver on the particular task that was assigned to them by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the most valuable lesson in all of these is to remind yourself that just because you have encountered a setback, a challenge, a failure in your life doesn't mean that God doesn't love you. Because if God can test his beloved servants, his prophets, his messengers, then who are you not to be tested with? And then another valuable lesson from all of these, from the stories of Allah's righteous servants and his prophets, is that failure is not a shameful thing. If it can happen to the prophets of Allah, so it can happen to anybody. That means you shouldn't be ashamed. You shouldn't feel shameful just because you have failed at a particular moment in your life. Because failure is part of life, is something that can happen to every one of us, and it is actually an essential in the path of growing up. So it can happen to anybody. It can happen to you. It can happen to me. The point is, we all have a story to tell regarding failure and setbacks in our lives. And failure is something all of us can relate to. Everybody, every one of us at some point in their lives will. Even the world's most successful people today have their own fair share of failures and setbacks. They all have a story to tell, which very much reminds me of a quote from Winston Churchill that goes like, "Success is tumbling from failure to failure without the loss of enthusiasm." This is clearly reminding us that success cannot happen without failure. That in order for success to happen, for success to be present, there has to be failure, maybe first, before success comes next. And honestly, as I am growing up into an adult version of myself, I am learning more that failure teaches you more than success does. And the first most valuable lesson I have learned from my failures is the fact that it is absolutely humbling. I mean, life's fastest way of humbling a person is through failure. You get humbled real quick. It is an absolute reality check, and you'll get to understand the fact that the world does not revolve around you. And with failure, you can do everything right. You can tick all the boxes, dot your I's and cross your T's. You can be everything. You can have everything it takes for success to be yours, and it still won't be yours. It is a big reality check. I think that's one of the reality checks I have had. It hits me so hard like a wet blanket. The next most valuable lesson I have learned is you cannot dwell on failure. Just because you have failed now doesn't mean you should dwell on that failure for that particular moment. And one of the most distinct characteristics of successful people is not dwelling on failure. Every time failure happens, a successful person does not dwell on that particular moment. What they do is they open up their minds to learn the valuable lessons that that particular failure or setback or challenge is trying to teach them, and they use it as a driving force or as a motivation towards getting closer to their goals and ambitions or becoming better in what they do. The last thing I would love to tell you and remind all of us is that just because you have failed the first time doesn't mean that you will fail again. It is important to have the drive and the motivation to try again after you have failed. You can take a break, but don't quit completely. Don't stop trying just because you have failed. Before I wrap up the section, I would like to remind every one of you watching this, and myself too, that failure is not the stop line. It is not the finish line. It is not the end, and it is not shameful. All we have to do, if it comes, if we encounter it, is to embrace it and accept it as part of our story and journey. So I will see you in my next Let's Talk video. Goodbye for now.